I recently had the immense pleasure of watching How to Train Your Dragon, the live action version, in theaters, and it just reminded me of the brilliance of that story and why it resonates so well with so many young people and now adults who have watched those as children and found themselves still resonating with those today because of the way in which life tends to steer us and really mess with us. And that story really reflects that in some incredible ways. And so I wanted to do a brief story analysis of why that works so well, and maybe why it resonated with so many people. And so I hope you will enjoy. This is going to be a video essay, so let's do this. Some stories don't try to dazzle you. They don't shout to be heard. They just breathe. And in that breath and that quiet confidence, they somehow echo louder than most. How to Train Your Dragon is one of those stories. It's not the kind of tale that tries to impress with twists or world-shaking lore. It impresses because it's simple, but not simplistic. It's emotionally and structurally efficient, almost like a myth retold in modern formats. It's a story that understands the most important battles are the ones fought inside of us, between who we are and who we're told to be, and who we might become if we choose something other than fear. The genius of this film lies in how clearly it sets the stakes. In the very first few minutes, we understand Hiccup's world. Berk is a place where struggle is defined by the ability to kill dragons. Violence isn't just allowed, it's institutionalized. It's how you earn respect, legacy, even love. And most importantly, the love of his father, Stoic the Vast, doesn't hate Hiccup. He just doesn't know how to see him. He doesn't yet have the framework to interpret gentleness as strength. And that misalignment, that desperate desire to be seen and understood by a father who can't recognize your strength because it doesn't look like his, that is what quietly breaks your heart, even more than fire and fang. Hiccup's lie is simple and painfully relatable. If I can become what they want, they'll finally love me. It's a belief almost all of us have held at some point, especially when we want to make a father proud, especially when we're different. And then comes Toothless. Hiccup's refusal to kill the drowned dragon is more than a moment of mercy. It's the fracture point where the lie starts to crack. Because what he sees in Toothless isn't weakness, it's fear. A fear like his own. Vulnerability, the same longing to be free, to be known, to be safe. The friendship that forms between boy and dragon isn't just cute. It's emotionally profound. The dragon becomes what so many of us have experienced in quiet moments of isolation. A creature who doesn't speak but sees us in ways others can't. A companion like a dog or cat who shows up exactly when the world feels loud and cold and reminds us that connection can still happen, that we're still worthy of being chosen by someone. Toothless isn't just Hiccup's dragon. He's his mirror, his healing, and his home, his foil. And the story knows this. It builds its world and structure entirely around this arc of inner transformation. The dragon training ring is a visual metaphor for what Hiccup is expected to become. The cove, quiet, green, and hidden, is where his soul unfolds, where he learns who he truly is. Even the dragon's inability to fly without Hiccup becomes a quiet visual truth. Transformation is mutual. You don't just save someone, you must grow together for this to work. The midpoint is just as brilliant. Hiccup realizes dragons are not evil. They're being forced by something larger, something darker. The Red Death, the true antagonist of this story, isn't a villain with lines or incredible backstory. It's a metaphor for systematic fear, control, that thing that looms over us and tells us we have to be brutal, or else, and Hiccup sees it for what it is. When Stoic disowns him in the dark night of the soul, it hurts even more, because by then, Hiccup and us as the audience understands that the dragons are not evil as society wants us to believe, that the true antagonist of this story is the Red Death. But he still needs to convince his father to believe the same truth, and that is really what strikes at the heart of the audience and as us sympathizing with Hiccup so truly. The climax isn't a triumph. It is meant to be a choice. To ride into danger, not to kill, but to free. To risk everything not to win, but to live with a truer integrity. In the end, Hiccup is permanently changed. He loses a leg. He doesn't walk away whole. He walks away honest and one leg lighter. And then something subtle happens to us as the viewer and as him, the character. The dragons are welcomed into the village not with fanfare, but with a strange familiarity. They become part of life, like dogs curled by the hearth, or cats watching from rooftops. They're not exotic anymore. They're home in a beautiful way, a beautiful inversion. Stoic, who once couldn't see his son, now builds a saddle for Toothless. He understands, and maybe for the first time, he sees Hiccup clearly. That's why How to Train Your Dragon resonates so deeply. It isn't just about dragons. It's about every child who's ever felt unseen by their parents. It's about every quiet kid who thought they had to become someone else to be loved. About the animals that found us when no one else could. It's about the lies we live under and the people or creatures who help us see through them. It's not complicated, but it is complete. Every scene supports this arc. Every metaphor deepens the meaning, and in the end, it doesn't ask us to be impressed. It simply asks us to be changed alongside the characters. And that, I think, is the rarest kind of storytelling. The simplicity of it and the complexity of it, a beautiful paradox. And that is the kind of story that I myself want to